Here are the top stories for today, January 26, 2021. President Duterte wants children aged 10 to 14 years old to stay at home. The president also challenged critics claiming of corruption to face him. The Department of Education considers Negros Oriental as pilot area for face-to-face classes. And Koreans top the list of foreigners who are barred from entering the country. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Children aged 10 to 14 years are urged to stay inside their homes despite the easing of age restrictions by the Interagency Task Force. President Rodrigo Duterte said it is necessary to take the precaution after the Health Department announced there were UK variant samples found in Mountain Province and La Trinidad, Benguet.
Yung restrictions na lifting the age of for 10 to 14 age group sa MGCQ areas, napalabasin na yung mga 10 to 14, I am compelled, it has nothing to do with their incompetence, not at all. Akin is a precaution because there was or is a strain discovered in the Cordillera na that is very similar to the strain dito sa United Kingdom. How it got there is beyond me. Hindi ko talaga bakit dumating doon. So, balik ko kayo sa bahay muna. Mine is just a precaution. Wala itong bisang. Takot lang ako kasi itong bagong strain strikes the young children.
Many parents also share the same sentiment. They said they are not in favor of the easing of the age requirement imposed by the task force.
Sa akin po, hindi ako sangayon. Kasi mataas ang risk na pwedeng mahawa ang mga bata eh. So, mas safe sila kung sa bahay sila mag-stay.
Hindi pa po pwede kasi lalo na po ngayon yung lumalabas na virus, di ba? Siyempre, para rin sa mga kaanuhan ng mga yung mga bata, kaligtasan nila, di ba?
Ay sa akin hindi pa kasi lalo na ngayon yung bagong variant ng SARS mas delikado. Kaya para sa akin, opinion ko, hindi ko muna papalabasin yung mga bata para safety ng kalahatan na rin.
Para sa akin hindi, kasi delikado para sa mga bata. Kasi ako may anak din ako eh. Mas gusto ko yung mga ganong edad nila nasa loob ng bahay para safe sila.
Hindi ako sang-ayon kasi may mga anak din ako eh. Kasi mahirap yun, kasi ngayon may panibagong virus na naman tayo eh. Kaya mahirap naman palalabasin natin yung mga bata.
President Duterte urged the public to be religious in observing health and safety protocols. He said that while some Filipinos could afford getting treated for COVID-19, there were many who could barely pay for hospital expenses.
Ang mask, makakatulong yan. It does not provide actually 100%. Hindi kami nagsasabi nag-mask hindi ka titamaan. It will give you something like 80%, basta worn properly. Kasi yung iba, nagmamask tapos nakikita ko yung ilong ninyo sumasabit doon just on the edge of the mask, the upper portion. So it does not really give a relief at all kung ganun ang careless ang tao na gumagamit.
Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana assures the full support of the AFP to the forthcoming national vaccine rollout. Lorenzana also announced that the Philippine Navy and the Philippine Coast Guard have a total of 13 ships that can store COVID-19 vaccines in sub-zero temperatures.
Base po sa pag-uusap namin ni Secretary Galvez, kung importante po yung pag-aangkat ng bakuna ay sa tingin namin mas importante yung rollout. Kasi po pag hindi natin naplano ito ng mabuti ay baka masiraan tayo ng bakuna, sayang po yun. Kaya po tinanggap namin yung alok ng negosyo ni Joey Concepcion na bigyan ng pagsasanay o training ang ating military medical personnel para sila ang kasama sa pagbabakuna sa ating mga tao, lalong-lalo na sa mga probinsya.
President Rodrigo Duterte challenged critics of the government to face him. This as some individuals accused his administration of anomalies in vaccine procurement.
Merong iba dyan because wala silang nakuha kay Kalbas, kaya wala man talaga, walang pera, laway pa lang ito lahat, conversation, istorya. Meron na nagsabi may corruption o na they were able to obstruct or prevent corruption because of their timely alam mo, bulador ka. Mag-usap nga tayo, tayo lang. Kung sino nagsabi niyan, please rise and be brave enough to say that you're the one. I'd like to talk to you. Tayo lang dalawa.
Duterte, meanwhile, assured anew that vaccine supply agreements would be finalized only after he and Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez have reviewed and approved the proposal. The Philippines aims to secure 148 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines from several companies to inoculate an initial 50 to 70 million Filipinos this year. To date, the government has signed term sheet agreements with U.S. drug maker Novavax as well as Moderna and AstraZeneca. It has yet to sign a term sheet agreement with Pfizer-BioNTech. President Rodrigo Duterte ordered the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, to work double time in arresting people using his name and those of cabinet members to bag deals for government projects. In a taped speech, Duterte said he wanted NBI personnel to bring the said individuals to his office in Malacanang before proceeding to jail.
Pag binanggit yung pangalan ni Secretary Lorenzana, Secretary Galvez, Secretary Duque, pag ginamit yung mga pangalan nila sa mga contract purchase, the mere fact na nagamit ng pangalan, wala yan. Kasi kung alam mo, kung straight ka, ang contract mo maganda, kompleto, walang kulang, you do not have to convince anybody that it is really good. Because it is really good. I am calling on the NBI to double their time pangpahuli nito. Hulihin ninyo ito, tapos kung ma-detain ninyo sa gabi, wala pa naman bago ninyo dalhin sa korte for filing of the charge. Idaan mo nga sa Malacanang. Tignan ko lang ang pagmumuka nito.
The city governments of Pasig, Valenzuela, and Antipolo have partnered to integrate the use of their respective contact tracing applications. This is to boost their efforts in the fight against COVID-19. Valenzuela City Mayor Rex Gatchalian, Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto, and Antipolo Mayor Andrea Inares forged an interconnectivity agreement aimed at streamlining their contact tracing solutions. They virtually signed a data sharing agreement for the Valenzuela Contact Tracing App, Pasig Pax Contact Tracing App, and Antipolo Bantay COVID-19 app. The agreement allows the use of quick response codes in 3 cities to expand monitoring and contact tracing of COVID-19 patients. Gatchalian said the initiative provides a convenient and efficient contact tracing method that can be used anywhere in the 3 cities. It will also limit the downloading of many QR code systems to be used in various cities, he added. For Inares, the integration shows that we must put value in unity amid the pandemic. And for Soto, the data being collected using the QR code system is very precise, as it could prevent hassles in manually filling out health declaration forms when entering establishments. The municipality of Dapa in Siargao Island has been placed under Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine or MECQ. Meanwhile, the municipality of Taytay is ready to facilitate the storage and deployment of the vaccines. More on this and other news in the provinces from Lade Cabagani.
Mayor Jorik Gakula and the municipal health officials visited and inspected the cold chain facility located in Barangay San Isidro in Taytay, Rizal. The cold chain facility owned by the Royal Cold Storage Incorporated is said to be very suitable to the AstraZeneca vaccines and Moderna vaccines that were ordered by Taytay municipal government. During his visit, Gakula said the cold storage facility can accommodate around 28 million doses of vaccines that will require a temperature of up to -20 degrees centigrade. The local government has initially allotted 300 million pesos for the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines. It targets to inoculate around 370,000 residents. Meanwhile, the municipality of Dapa in Siargao Island has been placed under Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine or MECQ. Vice Governor Eddie Go Kiangki Jr. said the MECQ was necessary following the rise in the number of COVID-19 cases. Under the MECQ, all trips of passenger vessels coming in and out of Dapa shall be suspended. Likewise, all persons residing or visiting the town are ordered to stay at home and will not be allowed to go out except for essential movements. The MECQ status is effective until Friday. And in La Trinidad, Benguet, the local government has enforced curfew and stricter measures to control the further spread of the COVID-19, including the B117 SARS-CoV-2 or the UK variant. The Municipal Interagency Task Force unanimously approved to effect a curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. The town now also restricts those below 15 years old and above 65 years old from leaving their homes. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Lade Cabagani.
Still to come, Malacanang reiterates there is no communication plan to red tag certain groups or individuals. And Negros Oriental is being considered as pilot area for face-to-face classes. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Pangalagaan ang sarili laban sa coronavirus disease 2019. Hanggat maaari, umiwas sa mataong lugar. Iwasang hawakan ang ilong at bibig, maging malinis sa katawan at ugaliin ang wastong paghuhugas ng kamay. Takpan ang ilong at bibig kung uubo o babahing. Umiwas sa mga taong nagpapakita ng sintomas ng coronavirus disease gaya ng lagnat, ubo at sipon. Magsuot ng face mask kung kinakailangan. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The Department of Justice, or DOJ, will await a formal request for adjudication from concerned parties before it may rule on the repeal of a 31-year-old accord between the University of the Philippines and the Department of National Defense. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said the DOJ will view any request for legal opinion on the deal as a request settlement. All such disputes should then be brought before the DOJ's Office of the Solicitor General or Office of the Government Corporate Counsel. The DND-UP Accord was a violation of the Equal Protection Clause under the 1987 Constitution, according to the Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff General Gilbert Gapay. He said that it is high time to put an end to a deal which has been taken advantage of by the Communist Party of the Philippines New People's Army in perpetrating their deceptive recruitment. Gapay said they will pursue a more collaborative relationship between universities to usher the rebirth bastions of genuine patriotism and not of misguided activism. A group of peace advocates composed of church leaders condemned the killing of Father Rene Regalado in Malaybalay City, Bukidnon. The priest was found lifeless next to his vehicle near the Carmelite Monastery after unknown assailants gunned him down. The group, sowing the seeds of peace, denounced Regalado's death. It also denounced the killing of a lawyer a week before Father Regalado's death. The group said their death showed the level of impunity in the country has reached a deplorable level. Diocese spokesperson Father Virgilio Delfin is requesting everyone to offer prayers for the victims. Malacanang denied claims there is a government-led communication plan to accuse people, including students, of joining the communist movement. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the armed forces of the Philippines will apologize to people wrongly included in a list of supposed members of the New People's Army. Lorenzana earlier said that AFP would apologize for its unpardonable gaffe, specifically to Free Legal Assistance Group member Rafi Aquino, who was one of those included in an NPA list. Roque said he had no jurisdiction to advise military officials against red tagging, but suggested they be more careful in making such accusations.
Secretary Lorenzana has apologized for mistakes. Let's leave it at that. But there is no overall communication plan on red tagging. We leave that to the defense establishment. Sila po yan.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, started on Monday the distribution of livelihood assistance grants to more than 7,600 beneficiaries across Bicol. DSWD Bicol Director Arnel Garcia said the beneficiaries will receive cash aid amounting to 68.48 million pesos. The cash aid is processed under DSWD Sustainable Livelihood Program for Bicol Region in accordance with the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act. The assessment process started during the community quarantine period in order to facilitate the processing and provision of livelihood assistance grants. Regional Program Coordinator Earl Maximilian Cecilio said the expected outcome after the grant was provided is for the recipient of the eligible family to have income-generating economic activities. The Department of Education will consider including Negros Oriental in the pilot testing areas for face-to-face classes in the near future. Secretary Leonor Briones of the Department of Education said the program was supposed to start this January if not for the emergence of a new COVID-19 variant. She said that Governor Roel Degamo was reluctant on the idea of holding face-to-face classes due to the surge in COVID-19 cases in the province. Some 118 schools in the province would have been considered for the pilot testing. The DepEd chief said they need to minimize the risk of students contracting COVID-19, noting that only very few children were infected because of the agency's policies. Parents must also be aware of the implications of this program if they would allow their children to attend the face-to-face classes. The Department of Agriculture warned unscrupulous traders and manipulators that they will be fined as high as 100 million pesos if they are found causing false shortage of agricultural commodities or manipulating their prices. DA Secretary William Dar said a subtask group created by the Interagency on Food Security will investigate and file charges against those floating the idea that there is a food shortage. The DA also penned the proposal to involve the Department of Justice, Department of Interior and Local Government, National Bureau of Investigation, and the Philippine National Police in their monitoring and surveillance. Dar said they have had talks with the Philippine Competition Commission to further investigate traders engaging in the manipulation of supply and prices of basic commodities. The DA Secretary has reiterated there is enough food in the country. The proposed executive order that will be signed by Malacanang this week will be the imposition of a price ceiling on pork and chicken. The Department of the Interior and Local Government may request for the realignment of its budget to rehire more contract tracers. Last week, the DILG said it will rehire for 6 months about 15,000 of the 50,000 contact tracers it hired last year to help sustain the government's contact tracing efforts. This after the Department of Budget and Management approved the allocation of 1.9 billion pesos for the hiring of CTS nationwide this year. This after the Department of Budget and Management approved the allocation of 1.9 billion pesos for the hiring of contact tracers nationwide this year. The Department of Foreign Affairs can also request for the modification of its budget to address additional funding requirements. Last week, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. said the agency's passport revolving fund has been depleted and the DFA owes the state-owned Apple Production Unit Incorporated some 388 million pesos for printing expenses. Up next, Koreans top the list of foreigners who are barred from entering the country. And Bren Esports prevailed in the Mobile Legends Bang Bang World Championship. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang mga dapat gawin sa lugar ng trabaho laban sa Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ang mga kumpanya ay dapat magbigay ng face mask sa kanilang mga empleyado. Bukod dito, magbigay kaalaman din patungkol sa COVID-19. Siguraduhing malinis ang kapaligiran. Maglagay ng sabon at hand sanitizer sa mga palikuran. Siguraduhing ligtas at nalutong maigi ang mga pagkain sa kantina. Obserbahan ang kalusugan ng mga empleyado at katrabaho. Kung sakali man na mayroon silang sintomas ng coronavirus disease, gaya ng lagnat, ubot-sipon at hirap sa paghinga, ay agad ipasuri sa doktor. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Malacanang is urging nations to exercise restraint after China recently passed a law giving power to its Coast Guard to fire on foreign vessels and demolish structures built in the West Philippine Sea. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque reiterated President Rodrigo Duterte's call to pass the Code of Conduct for the West Philippine Sea. In 2019, the ASEAN and China completed the first reading of the draft of the Code of Conduct, which is expected to be finalized by 2021 to resolve conflicts in the resource-rich sea. Roque also pointed out that all laws passed to safeguard a nation's sovereignty will have to comply with their obligations under the United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. He said the use of force is also prohibited except by way of self-defense or if authorized by the United Nations Security Council to use force. Over 3,000 foreigners, the majority of them Koreans, have been barred from entering the country last year. BI Commissioner Jaime Morente says this is compared to 7,700 who were turned away from the previous year. A large number of aliens were turned away from January to March 2020 or before the government enforced a lockdown. On the other hand, lawyer Candy Tan, chief of Port Operations Divisions, reported that Koreans topped the list of excluded aliens at 1,350. She added that 53% of passengers were turned back for being likely to become public charge, while 16% were disallowed entry for being improperly documented. 112 aliens were also turned away for being on the immigration blacklist, while 29 passengers were sent back for having been previously deported for violating immigration laws. There were 18 foreign passengers who were denied entry for being rude, unruly, and discourteous towards immigration officers. In our foreign news, Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador on Sunday announced that he has been diagnosed with COVID-19 and has started medical treatment. In his Twitter account, Obrador said the symptoms are mild and he is already under medical treatment. Obrador said he will deal with pending issues from the National Palace. On Sunday, Obrador led the inauguration of the installation of the National Guard in the state of San Luis Potosi, a public event where he was not wearing a face mask. His infection comes 14 days after presidential spokesman Jesus Ramirez Cuevas tested positive for the virus. The National Council of Science and Technology estimates that Mexico has about 1.9 million coronavirus cases and over 168,000 deaths. And in sports, Bren Esports capped a momentous Sunday for Philippine sports after capturing the Mobile Legends Bang Bang World Championship in Singapore. Bren prevailed over Myanmar's Burmese schools in the best-of-7 M2 Grand Finals that went down to the wire Game 7 as the former game back from the grave to steal the series. Burmese schools, which took down Bren in the first round, were on track of a repeat, but Bren recovered in Game 6 to force the deciding match. Carl Nepomuceno took over midway through and led Bren's final blow to capture the crown. Bren won the lion's share of the $300,000 prize pot, while Nepomuceno won $3,000 for being the most valuable player of the series. And here's another look at today's biggest stories. President Duterte wants children aged 10 to 14 years old to stay at home. The president also challenged critics claiming of corruption to face him. The Department of Education considers Negros Oriental as pilot area for face-to-face classes. And Koreans top the list of foreigners who are barred from entering the country. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day, everyone.